and welcome to a new edition of Gerety Talks. Today we are having a chat with three chief creative officers that come from three different corners of the world. Ioana Filip, Global Executive Creative Director at McCann in the UK. Dora
Hi.
Osinde, Chief Creative Officer from Ogilvy in Germany.
Hi.
And Selma Thorsteinsdottir, Chief Creative Officer and Partner at Pipar TBWA in Iceland. I hope I had your surname correct.
Perfect.
Welcome and thanks for joining us today. So please let's start by introducing yourselves and tell us a little bit more about your roles and company. Selma, would you like to start?
Yes. So like you said, I'm from Pipar TBWA in Iceland. It's one of the largest agencies here. I've been with the company for over 20 years, in this role for maybe 7 years. And I don't know how it is in other markets, but here in Iceland, you need to be able to maybe put on many hats and just do what you have to do each time. And yeah.
Dora, would you like to go on?
Sure. I'm currently the Chief Creative Officer of the Ogilvy Group in Germany, a group because there are a couple of other smaller or specialized shops that are also part of the Ogilvy offering. I started there February of 23. Time passes in a weird way in this industry. Ogilvy actually existed in Germany since the 60s. And my background is much more, I always say I'm from the internet. My background is much more social and digital things. My first gig was actually running a MySpace site for a small fashion label. So currently the job is very much trying to find best of both worlds, if you will. You have this very traditional shop with many employees that have been there longer than I have even been in this industry. And at the other side of this, you have social, you have digital, you have artificial intelligence. So we're trying to find a good way of marrying the two and trying to continue to create best-in-class creative.
Great. Ioana?
Hi, thank you for having me. It's really great to be here. So I'm Ioana. I'm currently Global Executive Creative Director in the UK. I don't even know where I live anymore. I am Romanian at heart. Have been with McCann in and out for almost a decade. In between, I had a gig at BBDO for almost 5 years in Chicago. As a global ECD as well. My role here is, I came back to Europe after Chicago as a CCO for MRM in UK. And beginning of this year, I was promoted to global ECD, which is basically handling all the brands for a global business of ours. And working with teams at a global scale to deliver on, the best-in-class work for this specific client. So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to get into it. So nice to meet you all.
So let's start with a very easy question. What are today the biggest challenges you face in your roles, and more generally, the challenges the advertising industry faces? Who dares to start?
This is indeed an interesting and probably a difficult one, and I assume it's probably also different for every individual, every company, our markets that we're in. I think if we're looking at the industry, one big thing I am seeing, and I'm trying to get all of my creatives almost a little bit into that business mindset as well. What I'm seeing is clients asking, what are we actually paying for? Why am I coming to a big shop? Why am I coming to this big name instead of, say, book a little boutique place or book like a 2-person freelance team or one individual freelancer? What is actually the benefit of an agency or a bigger agency even? I think that's a question that we're all facing in combination with the way the economy currently works. Budgets are getting a little tighter. And I think if we look at then our role and what to do with that and our creatives, it becomes very much about being an exciting environment for a creative. Why, again, same question, right? Why should a creative choose us as their place of work instead of somebody else or going the freelance route?
I totally agree with you with the employees. I think that is like a big challenge today, to keep employees happy and help them to grow. Because I mean, today it's not the same as like 10 years ago. Work-life balance is just completely changed. So we need to step up our game and also help them out to not get overloaded with inspiration. I think just the media in general, we have too much inspiration, too many things, too many ways to do things. So I think like burnout of all of this is a big thing also. We need to get inspirations in other aspects of life also for our employees.
I would add to what you're saying. I would add agile creative excellence. I think we're living in an age where everybody asks agencies to move at speed. And I think it's a two-way street that we sometimes forget. Like, agencies need to move at speed, but so do clients need to move at speed. And I think being able to find new ways to work together, to react to culture in time, it's becoming more critical for us as an industry. And I think, and I'm sure we're gonna cover AI because that's the hottest topic these days. But the appearance of AI requires us as agencies to prove once again why you need a creative industry to lead that AI revolution forward. So anyway, I think to me that's the single most important challenge we face as in our department. How do we come up with creative ideas that have impact at speed again and again and again?
So yeah, you mentioned it. So let's talk about AI. So my question was, how has your creative work changed with the development of new technologies, and especially with AI? And are you afraid of it? Do you like it? Do you use it? Do you think it's going to be helpful or harmful for the industry?
I mean, I can pick up because I sort of brought it up. I'm in a camp of embracing it, and I'm pretty sure everyone is. I haven't met a creative in the last months that said, "Oh no, we're resisting it." I think that's not going to work out for anybody. I'm in the camp of embracing it. I think we have embraced all the new tools. We have an entire department that is looking into new technologies, that is taking in partnerships with AI from a creative perspective. I think all the creatives that work on the businesses at McCann, they start to use Dragonfly and Runway, and really using generative AI in ways that get us to ideas faster. I think we're looking at it as a tool, and that really just sort of takes away some of the noise of the jobs that could be done. Maybe we would have spent more time in the previous years. But I'm in the camp of embracing it, and we're working through it quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And that's definitely similar for Ogilvy. And even without sort of what the agency is doing or what the network is doing, the individuals are excited about it. They're trying the tools, they're figuring out how to incorporate that into their day-to-day. So I kind of think about it the way we probably thought about Photoshop back then. What was art direction several years ago? What is it now with the help of certain tools that were established? And I kind of see AI in a similar way. I don't think it's gonna mean that we're losing our jobs. I think it means that new jobs are coming into existence, new types of expertise, new skill sets, and we're kind of incorporating them into our day-to-day, which is why I'm generally quite excited about it. And at the same time, it's sometimes in these conversations and what you can read online, it feels like people are almost overestimating it. I still feel that it needs a human being with an idea or sense of taste to pick the right idea to actually work these tools. And that's sort of where I am on the topic.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, it is about the ideas. So it just gives us more time to work with the ideas. And remember the time, like you said before, like with Photoshop, and when the computer came, I mean, everyone thought that graphic designers is, they're obsolete. We don't need them anymore. But what happened? We need more designers. And like I said before, I mean, we are doing so much material. We need this actual help to do that faster, the output. But the input is always going to be the same. I mean, it's the creative mind. So I'm not worried. It's a tool. It's a new tool. It's a new shiny tool right now. And what's going to happen next? I don't know. So.
And do you actually get clients asking you about it and how you're using it?
But they don't know what they're asking about. They just, use the shiny word.
There's that lane. Then I think there's just a general interest of clients trying to learn, how do you use it? How does it work? Could that be something for us? And then there's obviously a money conversation, right? Oh, does that mean you can do this faster? Does that mean I can get this cheaper? Does that mean we don't have to shoot? So yeah, maybe it means we don't have to shoot, but we still need people and experts to actually work the tools. So the equation isn't necessarily AI makes everything cheaper. And I think that's a mindset we all need to get our clients to come on board with.
Yeah, that's true. And I do think that we have quite a broad range of clients that are asking for ways to include AI in the work. And I think, there's signs from the industry. You look at big companies that are already hiring their own, AI specialists to be able to guide them through the work. But I think right now, most of them are still looking at creating efficiencies in the process and less so on how do you use to develop new creative work with the use solely of generative AI. So I think we'll see where it goes, but I think there's an openness on both sides, agency and clients.
Definitely, the speed is something that everybody's very worried about, as you mentioned, Ioana, like everything coming up so quick. And Selma, you mentioned about retaining talent and how to encourage people. So talking about leadership, how do you encourage the people that work with you to give out their creative best for all of you?
Yeah, of course. So I mean, just helping them to raise their voice, number one, to speak up and get their projects out there and get good feedback from other colleagues, and also to not be afraid of trying new things and making mistakes. It's okay, but maybe not the same mistake over and over again. Then we're fine. But just to make your work bigger and better with help from seasoned colleagues. I think that's something that we've been talking about in my agency, at least.
Dora or Ioana?
I'll let Dora answer.
It's a big question.
It is a big question. And so one, if we look at retaining talent, I guess we're all going through similar things. It was mentioned before, the way we looked at our jobs 10, 15, 20 years ago is very different from the way, especially young people are looking at it now. And I think we all need to have a certain level of, flexibility and I guess the according mindset to allow the space for these people and how they want to approach work, especially as creatives, right? To allow space to actually be that. I'm excited when I interview young people and they're like, well, but on Wednesdays I'm doing this and I'm definitely not doing a full week and I have this other project I'm doing. So I kind of can't be here for this. I think it's fantastic. I love to hear that because that means they will show up motivated and excited and relaxed to our jobs. There's that piece. And then the other piece, whenever I think about hiring and motivating talent and how do I keep them motivated, there's certain things I can do, right? There's certain problems I can get out of your way and certain ways in which I can make the agency nicer for people to work in. There is an element that I think is not teachable. And I think it is somewhere around work ethic and taste. If the client is a potato company, it is a potato company. And I will not make this more exciting for you. You as a creative have to find what's exciting about a potato potentially, and find that insight, find that nugget, and actually get excited to work on it. That I can't create for anyone. That needs to come from within.
I want to explain why I wanted to let Dora. It's like to me, it's every time somebody asks me about talent, the first thing, and I got every time I almost got pushed back, a lot of pushbacks on this, because I think we are as an industry going through this like identity crisis where there's less talent that actually wants to join advertising because there's so many other cool industries out there. We're not the sexy industry anymore, not the sexiest industry anymore. And I think being able to motivate, the talent that comes in has become more important than ever and more difficult than ever. So anyway, I just wanted to clarify that. I think for me, the motivation has always been just being down in the trenches. I like to lead by working with the teams quite closely, and providing the sort of the guidance that they need when they need it. I hate structures. Have always been a sort of a linear structural kind of leader, I guess. So for me, motivation is providing, allowing for teams to have access to my time and to building with me whenever they need it. So I don't know if that's motivating enough, because I really agree with Dora. It takes a certain kind of attitude, and a certain kind of desire to be in the industry to actually do the right thing and have impact.
Yeah, and I think also like you talked about, like the flexibility and what people want today. I think that's fine if because you see if that person is like a team player with a work ethic, like you spoke about before. I think that is key. I mean, if you have that, then I know it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Also be approachable, like you said. We are quite linear in Iceland, I would say. So I relate to that.
And why do you think this identity crisis, as you mentioned, Ioana, why do you think advertising is not as cool as it used to be, and how can that be changed?
Well, you got all these, tech companies. You get all the startups that, have an idea, get funding, get exited, they live on a beach. You get the GameStop of the world, the cryptocurrency. Like, if I was a young 18-year-old woman again, I would probably be like, where can I get cool shit done, get ton of money, and have the flexibility that I want? Advertising right now doesn't look like it's that. So I would go probably in the tech field. That's why, I think it's from forces that are independent to what we're doing. It's just the way that the companies and the world has evolved. So I think for us as an industry, we need to find and carve our new space that uses, new technologies, new ways to impact, new ways to disrupt culture, in ways we haven't done before. And I think, us as leaders, we need to lead that way, to make it sexy again, I guess, as an industry.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then there is the world as it is today, and the fact that we are at the center of capitalism. Like, you need to find ways to make peace with that, find joy in, the projects that come up every now and then that truly have impact and that truly, as you said, shape culture, or the projects where you just as a creative find the beauty in just creating together, making a thing, finishing a project, doing this with people you admire and people who inspire you. All of these things make the job great. But I completely understand, if we take the 18-year-old example, you can look at our industry with quite a critical lens, and you need to dig a little to find why it would be exciting to join it.
Yeah. And Dora, your bio says one of your biggest talents is how to inspire communities, and you not only always keep your finger on the pulse of current trends, but you're also always one step ahead. How do you keep up with trends, and what is the hottest out there? What are your sources, or where do you look for them?
I love that my bio says that. And I also love when my team sends that out to people and then I need an answer for it. But One Piece, I'm always online. I'm on all the platforms all the time. I'm trying to see who's doing what's cool, what's the new thing, who is this small influencer, 10,000 followers, but his editing skills are completely crazy. There's that. And the other piece is this sounds strange, but like every young person I talk to, I'm like, what's cool? When I interview somebody, I'm like, what's cool? What do you read? What are you watching? Who are you following? And I have a couple of people that used to work with me in my old agency. Sometimes I just text them. I'm like, look, I saw this guy. Is he still cool? Like, do you still like him? He did this big brand deal. Does that resonate with you? So I'm trying to like keep access to a pool of Gen Z people who I can just who I'm confident in their answers.
Cool. And Ioana, you have developed your career in the United States, UK, and Romania for top Fortune 500 companies, managing teams across different global markets like the US, Brazil, Asia, and Europe. What do you find were the most striking difference of working in all these markets, and what do you think you learned in each of them?
I think each market obviously reflects a culture, the culture in the creative output and in the craft. I think Romania, and I talked about this quite a bit. In Romania, I've grew up there. I became a creative director there, and we learned. And I think everyone that comes from countries like Romania or Argentina or Brazil, they find ways to come up and hack, channels and ideas in ways that don't require big budgets, because that's the only way you survive as a creative and as a brand in these countries, in a country of a market that's emerging. So I think in Romania, I've learned how to think of briefs differently and approach work differently. In the US, it's big budgets and big craft and big entertainment. So when I moved to the States, I almost felt like an exchanging experience. Like I've exchanged what I know from a small market with them on how to hack sort of briefs. And then I've learned from them the art of craft and entertainment, and the attention to detail in the way you write, in the way you produce, in the way you create entertainment is unparalleled in the US. And then in the UK, sort of, it's interesting. It's a middle ground between the two, because you do have these briefs that don't have so much money behind, and you have to you sort of hack it around, but then you still have the art of craft. You still have that British humor that comes through in a lot of the film and sort of paves the way for European work. I think it's quite different. I think, and again, like with the rest of the countries, the same. Like you would see work from India that balance is really interesting, the art of entertainment in film, because obviously they have such a big film industry, with some of the hackings. So yeah, I think it's quite different learning experiences I had across the three different countries.
And is Romanian humor very different to the UK?
You know what? Phew, that's a long story. I would say that East Europeans are not the funniest in terms of entertainment. We are, as a culture, we've been through a lot. And listen, there's a lot, but we like to think we've been through a lot. I would say there's other cultures that have been through much worse than we have. But we've always been at intersection of conflicts and political ideologies. So because of that, we feel like it's always we're taking ourselves very seriously in communication at times, and everything is around together we can change the world and we have the power, and it's like very manifesto-ish, so you would see less of humor. At least when I used to work for the market, there was less of humor and more on the serious tone, whereas in the States everything is funny and it's entertaining and you're having a laugh, so I think it's actually quite different. And that's why I was saying, like, I actually think if you want to learn how a culture is, I think you open the TV and you watch advertising and you learn how much humor there is, how much, what is the sort of the mental, the collective state of mind of that country, because obviously that's what advertising it's reflecting, right? So I think it's I would say we're not so funny. I think the US is much more funny.
And continue with the bio. Selma, your bio says that you have over the years become an ardent advocate for gender equality in the world of advertising. You launched a campaign last year with UN Women Iceland. Gender-based violence is closer than you think. Tell us about it, and why do you think it moves people no matter what country in the world you live in, as you mentioned in an article that I read in the Icelandic press?
Okay, yeah, of course. First of all, it was not last year, it was maybe a couple of years ago, but that doesn't matter. It's fine, it's fine. Maybe I need to update my bio also. But yeah, I believe that like us women here, we have some responsibility. We have to you know, show how far we've gone and what we can do, because I really believe that we have some superpowers being in the advertising industry, because we can change a lot. We can make things happen. And like you said, you know, in Romania, you know, small country, I think we're a bit smaller. I think we're less than 400,000. So the budgets are really small. But that campaign we did, it actually, you know, it went around the globe. So what that campaign had was like true emotions. We had the real victim telling her story, but they didn't know that. So, but we had this enormous trust that she put in our hands, and doing that ad, she actually felt quite empowered. And after the campaign came out, she came forward and told, you know, in the newspaper in Iceland that she felt so empowered by doing this ad. So that was quite great. So true emotions, they translate everywhere, even though, you know, the language isn't that nice to understand.
So that would be maybe a good thing to consider work in advertising, that true emotions really travel beyond. Okay. And what would be, we kind of more or less spoke about this, but what would be your advice to someone who wants to come to the advertising career, who are starting now? What would you suggest to them?
I mean, they can change the world if they want to do that. So we just need to advertise the industry better. I mean, we should be able to do that. We work in advertising, so maybe we need to be more creative of, you know, luring the talents our way.
That is a big argument that you can change the world. I would definitely sign up.
I mean, how do you put it? I mean, we'll tell the people how things should be or look or act or whatever. So I mean, we control the trends. So yeah, it is a big responsibility.
There's absolutely that, and the way we can influence certain types of conversations or just influence our clients positively, right? What to talk about, which topics to get behind. There's that. And then the other piece, which is smaller, but I think nice about our industry, is we're actually not saving lives. It is a way to be creative and to do beautiful things that, you know, in an ideal world matter to people, but sometimes it is just the process and you're getting paid well for it and you have a beautiful experience with, again, people you admire and that are inspiring. And that's what I always find quite reassuring. We're not saving lives. We're here for the fun of it too, and that's great.
I agree. I would also add that I would try to scare them a little bit. Like I would say, if you're not resilient, do not join this industry because you fail. And I think a lot, because I think a lot of people join and they think like, you know, year one, they're going to make an impact. If you do, that's amazing, but you're in the 1%. I mean, you need to get ready to get your work critiqued, killed, and start over again. I have this thing I always say, I'm like Dory, the forgetful fish. Like, if I don't show up the next day and forget everything that went bad the previous day, I would have to quit this industry because it is tough. But like any industry that can have an impact, it needs to be tough. So you have to be resilient.
True. Yeah.
And the last question for the three of you. What kind of campaigns or topics would you like to see rewarded this year at creative festivals? Or what stories would you like brands to tell us in the coming years?
Ooh, that's a big one. Well, I think, the last year it felt, at least like for Germany and some of the stuff I saw internationally or European stuff, humor is back, which I think is great. I think there was a time when everybody was a little afraid to touch certain things and to make the joke. And I think people are getting, first of all, the right voices into the room to understand which jokes are appropriate and which are not. And it feels like people are gaining confidence back in telling funny stories and entertaining stories. I'm excited that Europe is also getting on that branded entertainment train a little bit more, which I think is great. And what I would like to see more of, it's maybe in that same vein, just a good and interesting and funny execution. I am perfectly okay with soap being soap or bread being bread. I don't need everybody to have a purpose campaign out there. I'm perfectly fine with just a good, funny or quirky or interesting ad.
Yes, yes. So much so. Like it's word by word. I think let's award brands, let's award fun. Let's not forget why we're here. Because I really liked what Dora was saying. Like, it's just joining the industry because it's fun. We're not always saving the world. Of course, what we do can have an impact, but like the day-to-day is important. So I would love to see work that is on real work for real brands, that is fun and it it pays our jobs, honestly.
There's that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually completely agree with this because we need hope and happiness, like in this perma crisis,
Mm-hmm.
war talk and climate. I mean, we are constantly bombarded with, negative news. So we need something uplifting, and we can do that also. I mean, that's also, changing the world. No, I'm kidding. But, I think that humor is back. I'm really happy about that. Just, good old humor and feel good ads. I think that's what's coming. And also just, the queen of everything, the good idea. I mean, always, whatever it is.
Okay, so let's hope to see many more of those ads in the coming times. Thank you so much for sharing this time with us and telling us about your lives and careers and your thoughts. And best of luck in all the projects that you carry on.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.